Hello, ladies and gentlemen, I am PANCZASU, and welcome to first turns guide for the Wild Walkers in Endless Legend, of course. And to top it off, we are also playing in the Shifters beta. Yes, since the Shifters are now out of VIP stage and into beta stage, I am allowed to show you some of the upcoming content, as has every beta tester been able to do. I don't know if there were any videos posted. I assume so. People love to post those videos. I did not, because in my opinion, it's pointless to post any guides of any content that is rapidly changing, and everything in this beta is changing very rapidly. So I will only post Shifters content after Shifters are already released. Thank you very much. Now, however, as for the Wild Walkers, this is why you came here, right? To watch the Wild Walkers. You may be wondering if this Shifters expansion will affect them or my previous first few turns guides as well. The answer is not really. The only thing that really changes because of the Shifters expansion is simply the way that you settle your city, as in the way you plan your boroughs. Like, the pure settlement doesn't change because most of the Shifters mechanics only kick in after first winter, or rather during the first winter. And the only thing you need to remember is to try and not settle your city on top of an anomaly or on top of a mine, because after the third winter you will be able to boost that anomaly or that mine's output if you don't have a city center standing right on top of it. Because if you do, then the only thing you can do is to raise that city, which would be, you know, fairly inefficient way of boosting an anomaly's effects or boosting your production in a mine. Anyway, Wild Walkers, how do I play as them personally? I believe that Wild Walkers are fairly... what's the word for that? Adaptive? Adaptive is the word I was looking for. I like to go for Wonder or in... whatchamacallit? Quest Victory? You can go for more military victory, sure, that's also a very possible thing. I think they're very well suited for pretty much any type of victory, maybe perhaps with the exception of the economic victory, because usually they don't gain all that much dust. As for how I like to settle, I actually kind of like them as a tall empire rather than wild empire. They can be a very good and powerful wide empire, don't get me wrong. But at least until mid-game, you shouldn't go wide, because you can be snapped too easily. You're fair, as Wild Walkers, you're strong in early game, very weak in mid-game, and then strong in late game again. It's a fairly weird curve, but we'll get to that. Anyway, now, looking at those tiles, what tiles do I care about? Well, Wild Walkers are as ordinary as it gets. We care about industry and food in that order, followed up by science, and the thing we care not about is dust. This makes this stat surprisingly not amazing, but there's one more thing you need to take into consideration. Those are the living towns, which gives extra industry on every tile with a forest. This means that if you see a tile with no anomalies or nothing special on them, that gives you 3 Fitzy or less, those tiles are beneath us. We will not be satisfied with anything that gives us less than 4 and is a normal tile. That is simply because the way Wild Walkers win is through the numbers. Not military numbers, but Fitzy numbers. So we want to settle in forests. I think that's fairly obvious. Now, what kind of Fitzy numbers are we looking for? Well, let's have a quick look with my settler first. I do consider selling next to this area because there's an anomaly nearby, so I'll live through being next to a hot prairie, or whatever it's called. Grassland. Never mind, that's not hot. That's hot prairie. That's just prairie. Never mind. I know nothing apparently about the namings of towns, but it doesn't matter. So anyway, this thing, 14 food, 16 industry. So I'm pretty sure, let me think for a second, 16 industry, that's above the minimum threshold. If you want to make PANCZASU Memorial quickly, then 15 is the minimum. 16, that's above the minimum. However, this will force us to work a population growth, since if you don't want to work any population on your food income, then you need to have at the very least 70 starting growth. And keep in mind that when you settle a city, that will take away 1 food from the tile that you settle on. So usually that means you want to have at least 18 food if you don't want to work it. In this case, I can work food, so settling on this tile would be just fine. I would work food for the first 2 turns, and I would still make PANCZASU Memorial in 2 turns as well, which is pretty good. Only bad thing, there's no science. This is actually gonna hurt us as Wild Walkers pretty badly. We really do need that science, actually. Alrighty then, let's send out the first scout, shall we? See if there's any better area that we could potentially settle. Now, this is my favorite type of forest. As Wild Walkers, you'll generally only settle in forest, but Enchanted Forest is the best. It gives you a wide variety of fits income, which is even greater once you actually get some decent tech going and turn those tiles into monster tiles. And they are very well rounded. If you can settle on a tile that is surrounded by Enchanted Forest, you are usually in for a pretty good game. So Enchanted Forests are awesome for you. Unfortunately, they are quite far away, and overall their neighborhood is not the best either. I mean, this is not a good amount of fitsy at all. I don't want to settle there. So let's instead go ahead and move slightly. Let's have my other scout go in this direction. Now this uncovered an F-spine, a bit of Enchanted Forest, but overall that's still not a lot of forest in general. That's like 13, 10, 5, 5, 10. Sure, I do get the science, which I said I care about, but on the other side, on the other hand, I would have to wait an extra 10 to just get this extra 5 science, 6 because of happiness, and I'd get pretty mediocre growth into the wall as well. In fact, it will be pretty bad. So, now this is something that will be added in the Shifters expansion, and probably any other every other game as well. I would assume that this is a quality of life improvement that will be added for free to everybody, is the ability to detach leader. Thank you very much. I can now freely use my hero as a new scouter. If I can select him, there we go. So what do we see here? This is a very big region, by the way, so that's good to know. Now this is an interesting area. There's a lot of wetland. Wetland? That's not supposed to be called wetland. Maybe it is. Anyway, there's a lot of forest nearby. There's also dragon tree, but again, those patches of non-forest tiles in the middle of otherwise amazing places are what really intimidates me. Like over here, I could settle on an anomaly, but I already told you why this is a bad idea in Shifters expansion, and overall that's 14 food with happiness. This means that 14 food plus happiness would be enough to actually grow a population in just 2 turns, except selling on this tile would take away 1 food per action. This would be 13, and with happiness 13 is not enough. So that's bad. And any industry is just flat out bad no matter how much anything you have. So we ain't going over there, no matter what. I think that the best place where we can settle, as bad as it is to settle over here. This is very bad in terms of raw science production, but there's little we can do about that right now. Either way, as I told you, we need to work food in order to actually grow food on this tile, but Father's Memorial, bam, 2 tiles done, no problems, no questions asked either. Unfortunately, when it comes to New Foundry, that's a whooping 14 tiles. This is not good by any standard. And this is actually a real big problem for us, because as Wild Walkers, we are desperate to either A, reach the Tile Walker technology, or B, assimilate a minor faction that gives us infantry unit. If we don't have either of the two, we're gonna be rolled over by a mid-game rush, no doubt about it. It's a popular thing to do. Actually, maybe it's not a very popular thing to do in multiplayer. It's mostly me who is doing this thing, but it's so effective to rush a Wild Walker in mid-game before they get them. Actually, that's fairly early mid-game. That's like late early game, early mid-game, before they get the Tile Walkers or other infantry units ready. Because with just Rangers themselves, you're not gonna be able to protect yourself. They will die when somebody comes close to them. Same applies when fighting with minor factions as well. Especially if you encounter things that are actually cavalry units. Cavalry units will wreck you until you get this technology. So we need to have a lot of technology. So for that, you guessed it, we need to fast expand. But first things first, why do I not explore this ruin? Fairly simple. That's because I'm about to get a quest to explore the ruins. So don't do my mistake. I often forget about this quest for whatever reason. And explore ruins because it's just in my nature to explore ruins when I can. But no, what you should do is now explore the ruins. Now, you might be wondering, what do I do with my hero? Well, I'll answer that question in a second, because first of all, I want to merge those 2 units. Thank you very much. Now, this hero is actually an interesting hero. Usually, I treat my starting Wild Walkers hero as an army general, because he has the army boost, which is a really powerful ability that I love. And additionally, since you command a lot of archers, you do want to have your perfectly balanced skill as well for the extra range and insane amount of awesomeness. But you do have industry efficiency. Some people claim that industry efficiency 1 is useless in early game, but that is in fact not the case, and I'll probably be able to showcase to you how useful the skill can be, how life-saving the skill can be in early game when you have a stat with less industry than what I have right here. But in this case, let's move slightly more. Now with my hero, I'm gonna also move a little bit more to explore, see what there is to see in my region. Another, oh wow, double dragon tree. Well, I know now that when I will expand my city in the future, I'll probably go over here, because holy balls, this is a pretty amazing yield. Even though I'd have to walk out of the forest. That's actually a fairly big annoyance, but still, you can't have everything, I suppose. Let's finish scanning with my hero, then after scanning with my hero, I'm gonna reassign him, or her, I'm not sure, I can never tell, to this army. And I'll probably kill the Delvers quickly. That's because Delvers, you can kill them with range units fairly easily, and I can have reinforcements from my city to help me in this fight. Which is actually very important, and this will probably save you a lot of hassle and trouble. Now, my city has grown a population. Now, I could wait another 10 for it to grow yet another point of population. Or instead, I could... can I please get my settler? Thank you very much. Bam. Or instead, I could start making my settler. Now, if I were to focus fire... Focus fire? What? Or focus production on the settler, I would get him in 3 turns. This would mean a settler on 10-6. 10-6 settler is actually pretty good. And because of how little science I have, I absolutely do want to do this. I want to rush that settler ASAP. Because I need to get out, I need to start getting some more science. This place will not do. It's a good city for expanding to other areas, but when it comes to science, it flats out short on its A. Alrighty then, let's go ahead and fight those guys. I'll not show you the fight, this is not what this video is about. I'll pause the recording for a second. Alright, as you can see, I absolutely devastated those guys. You are extremely powerful and against any non-flying and non-cavalry opponent in early game, that being the manufacturers, of course. And as you can see, in this case, I only took a very little amount of damage to militia. I didn't even need to, I just felt like not saving these guys because I was lazy. So yeah, don't be afraid to do that. The reason why I banned this village instead of getting a quest from them is because, I mean, my science output is dreadful, so before I can get any quest from them, it's gonna be a long while. And this way I am safe. No dreaders are gonna spawn here in like 2 or 3 turns, and will not threaten my city or my settlers. I can just continue going along. Now, based on what I have seen so far, I have discovered parts of 2 regions. One region is over here with Alice ones. Alice ones are decent to assimilate. Not necessarily my go-to unit, faction I mean, but they're okay. I mean, happiness is always decent, right? But as a unit, they're not going to be very useful for you. Meanwhile, in this region, I don't know the minor faction, but it's an amazing region. It has plenty of science, as you can see. It has a river, which is very useful as well. And botanical... Let me say that again. Botanical garden as well. It's an amazing region. I want to go there ASAP. Let's see if there are any buddies around, or you need to scout the regions that you know are good as well. Just because maybe, just maybe, there's an enemy super quick settler in there. You want to intercept that settler and maybe stop him from selling. It's unlucky. I mean, it's 10-3. On 10-3 there will not be settlers, but you can see if there's a risk of them getting there closer. For example, if you see that enemy empire is nearby. Alright then. I could remake the Delvers, and I will at some point, I mean. But that's not exactly what I'm gonna do just right now. So let's end the turn now. I could reassign my hero, but this would only give me extra, let's say, around 2-ish industry per turn, which is not gonna be enough to actually push this guy through. Actually, that would be more than 2-ish industry per turn because of his percentage bonus working, but still I don't think it would make any difference. Alrighty then, like I said, I treat my thing here as an army general, so this means that he's getting the agile mover, very useful for quick raids on the enemy cities, even in late games, so that's why I generally favor this over Indiana Bones, despite how nice No Idle Hands skill is. I really like No Idle Hands. It could use a buff in my opinion. I like the overall idea of it, and I still think it's useful, but in this case, it's not. So I guess I'm contradicting myself ever so slightly. Alrighty then. Silix. Now Silix are a pretty decent faction, because if you go for a tall empire, it's fairly likely that you will not actually have the strategic resources that you normally need, or you have very little of them. Silix will help you remedy this problem by harvesting a lot more of those. So yep, this is a very good region for several reasons now, and I definitely do want to go ahead and settle in there as quickly as possible. Nothing else to do this turn in my city. Let's just go ahead and finish this turn. Next turn, can I actually move some of my production into science? No, I cannot, unfortunately. I need to keep working on a settler, so there is that done. I will, of course, go ahead and explore those ruins. Now, I am very tempted to actually destroy this Silix encampment. The reason being, because it will be a long while before I can get the ability to actually talk with another empire, I mean with minor factions, even once I settle here, because it will be a while until I settle there. So, I'll probably... In a real game, I'm pretty sure I would actually ban them down. And that's exactly what I'm gonna do right now as well, to keep it real. That's how I would normally play. It's much safer to do so this way. Sure, Autobot will probably say that I'm gonna lose horribly. Autobot doesn't understand speed or range, so I'll just murder those guys and be right back in a second. And as you can see, those guys are absolutely wrecked because the Hammer Knights can be dodged forever, kited and killed without even the slightest hint of a problem. So let us ignore those distractions for a second and keep on going along. Keep in mind, I am playing this with manufacturing difficulty set to hard. If you are playing with manufacturing difficulty set any lower, then I think you're missing on part of the fun, but that's of course your choice, and in this case it's probably not a good idea to destroy the Silex village because they're not nearly as dangerous in a game where they are set to normal difficulty as opposed to a game where they are set on hard difficulty. Alrighty then, I probably want to settle somewhere around here-ish. Probably around here, that's a good estimate, so let's move to this tower first. Yep, it seems like exactly what we're gonna do. Now, as for my capital, it still hasn't finished making its mill foundry, which I know is abysmally bad. I'm gonna work on seed storage for now, because it's gonna be very useful with the amount of food we have. Therefore, sure, it gives us extra population, which is nice, but that's all it would really give us, and we can get a lot of population right now in a very easy way as well, so that's not exactly what is our top priority. So, with our army, let's continue on with the scouting. Of course, exploring ruins, this is very important. Another Silex village, I'll probably destroy it as well. An amazing quest, this is my favorite quest of all time, especially for the Wild Walkers, since as I said, you will be playing Toll, you need to have as much of luxury resources income as humanly possible, and that right over there, this quest I just got, is exactly the way you can do this. Now, Holy Boss, no, you want to go... Alright, this is what happens when you click too much. Now, I hope that this was the ideal tower, I didn't have time to check, but 22 food, so it will go on its own without me working on this food, especially since it has the approval bonus. Now, industry is a bit of a problem in here, because it actually has only 8. And even with happiness, this is not quite enough. With happiness, you can go for... I actually don't remember, either 13 or 14 industry if you want to quickly grow. Actually, that's only for Founders of Moyo, so I'm even more... So I'm wrong there as well, that's what I'm trying to say. So ignore that number right there. But still, this location is pretty decent. I think I would want to settle here no matter what. I can assume it's the Silex. It's gonna cost me 15 influence, but this will be probably what I'm gonna do ASAP. I mean, I don't need to do it right now, but since I settled my city, I will not be able to go for any Empire plan anyway, so yeah, there's no point in delaying that any further. I can work on industry just fine. And in this case, let's see, adding a hero to this composition would mean that I'll get 5 industry income with a possible percentage. That would still not be enough because Mill Foundry is 38, right? So let's leave that right there. Select, no, I don't want to make Silex first. I want to focus on seed storage. Language square is almost done. Now, I actually forgot I clicked on that. And because I've been walking around murdering people, normally, if I remember that if I realized that I actually had it selected, I normally would have selected public library when prompted, because my selling science has actually been really abysmal. I didn't notice, I forgot that my Mill Foundry research is done. Normally I would have killed public library afterwards, because I was already killing a lot of people anyway. I mean, it's not the worst thing to ever happen anyway. I can now wait for 2 turns before murdering those guys, and I'll get a quest from them instead, which might not be the worst idea. Same goes for Sisters of Mercy. I don't have to bother killing them. I can in fact do it completely differently. Also, Mill Foundry. Hi, nice to see you. Why are you not queued up? Oh, I must have just finished making the Mill Foundry, I see. Researching it, that is. Anyway, you see where we are. It's 10-7. We have 2 cities. Both of them are fairly well functioning with a decent amount of FTSE. After you do that, I would look for another location to settle. And if there are good forest tiles, I'll settle my third city relatively quickly. But after the third city, I'll definitely stop and focus on my military for at least a while, as well as general infrastructure. That is because you are a vulnerable target until you do get your infantry units. So you need to either get your infantry quickly, which I can do by assimilating the Silex, which I will do anyway, or you need to have a lot of archers if you cannot get infantry units. So yeah, there is that. Anyway, let's go ahead and generate the vote again. Alright, I just generated another start, and looks like it's actually very similar to the one we had last time, but And now it looks like it's gonna give us more of a choice because it has both Enchanted Forest and a decent amount of anomalies somewhere else as well. Let's do the standard thing and begin by scouting around. It also starts off with the Doragashi faction, which is amazing because it increases luxury resource output, which, like I said in the last, not video, because you just saw this last bit, but like I said just moments ago, you need to increase your luxury output, and Doragashi can do just that. So, alright, this is a very interesting region. A lot of anomalies as well as a lot of forest, but they're again disconnected with a patch of emptiness in the middle, which is less than ideal. Let's separate my hero again. As Wild Walkers, I usually do that because, like I said, I really don't care about dust as Wild Walkers whatsoever. I'm usually in the negatives for the most time. Not very big negatives, but negatives that are small enough that allow me to survive by collecting ruins. That's usually what I go for. And at some point I tried to remedy this situation, but I don't go too hard on it. I don't focus too much on it, I mean. Alright then, so this situation is a bit awkward. A lot of anomalies, actually, for this start, but I do need to make use of those forests. But let's not enforce this. Like, if you get a strictly benefit city start, then you would in a forest, then go for that. But in this case, I would set on top of anomaly, so again, this thing, the Abbey of Anomalies, would not be something I could put on top of that thing right there, so that's not ideal. That's only 8 industry as well. 8 is not something I can do anything with. 23 food is nice, but that's it. 5 science, 5 is not enough. If you want to get super quickly, for example, whatchamacallit, seriously, my memory is blank. Mill Foundry, thank you, that's how it's called. Then you need at the very least 6 science wherever you are going to settle. This only has 5, I wouldn't be able to get that thing into 10, so that's not good enough. This thing, however, that has even less science, but it does have the 15 industry stat and the 19 food stat, which means I don't have to work either food or industry at all if I settle over here, because they'll both grow on their own within just 2 turns, that being Father's Memorial and another population, and instead I can put my population on science, give me a total of 6 science generation, plus the 1 science I get from settling a city, so that's 7. This is the place. I love it. It rounds up really well. Maybe there's a better alternative, but it doesn't look like there is. Like those other places, they look cool, they are cute, but this one is the best when it comes to rounding up. And it's next to a river as well, so there's a lot of potential expansion in the future. 2 places for Abbey of Anomalies, 1 place for Luxury Intensifier, and also a river nearby. This is absolutely awesome. It doesn't look this way when you compare it to what you see over here, perhaps, but let me demonstrate what I'm talking about. So first of all, look at that. Founders Memorials, Founders Memorial, I don't care, I'm gonna get it in 2 turns and growth population in 1 turn. Awesome. And as for science, I want to get Mill Foundry, 2 turns as well. Damn! This is epic. This is an epic stat. I love it. I love it to bits. So yeah, but in this case, because of how good the stat is, I'm gonna get population with just 1 turn and Founders Memorial in 2 turns. This means that I would theoretically be able to set Mill Foundry in 2 turns as well, but it would be a waste. I am not starving for industry, I don't need it. So instead, what I'm going to do is end my turn, but I'm thinking if I haven't forgotten doing anything. I could theoretically reassign my hero to this city, but I don't think it will make a difference when making a SLS, so instead let's reassign a hero over here, save a bit of dust. I don't care about dust, but I do like saving it when possible still, so that's something to keep in mind. And the 10 like here, you know what I meant, maybe. So there we go, the quest for searching for ruins, and at the same time this city. Now, in here, I'm gonna start making my settler. Of course, as always, I'll retrofit him. It really makes a difference in how quickly you can make a settler, and it very often makes a difference when it comes to being able to settle a new city quickly. So this guy, like so, and... Alright, yeah, that's what I was talking about, and I actually forgot to demonstrate it last time. So in here, in this case, because of how much industry I'm earning, I'm gonna continue working on the settler, and I'm gonna get him in 4 turns from now. Because one of the most memorials is gonna boost my industry, so I'm gonna get him in turn 6, which is, like I said, really quickly, really nice, what I like. What I should have done last turn, but I didn't, which is the thing I forgot about, is stop working Mill Foundry, because I don't need it, and work on Language Square instead, because I can get this as quickly as possible to give me some extra early quests and whatnot. Because keep in mind, if I were to actually attack the Doragashi, Because my city is nearby, I can actually do this and win without losing any units. Wow, I'm so lucky this stat. Holy balls. I want to keep playing this game. But there's only one AI, so it's kind of pointless. Still, that's a shame because it's an epic stat. Anyway, the Doragashi, my city is nearby, so I could fight them by blocking them with my military, but they are very good counters to your the Care Rangers, so usually you don't want to fight them at all. That can ruin your day. So there is that. Anyway, I think I have shown you what this stat has to offer, and let's move to one more and I will wrap this video up. Alright, a new style, it looks like it's a bad one. Look at how lot of forest we have. Unfortunately, things like that will happen to you from time to time. You cannot always be lucky, sometimes you have to be satisfied with something bad. But in this case, I refuse to believe our stat is as bad as it is, so let us begin by doing the usual scouting. So the first scout is gonna be going in this direction more or less, trying to avoid the forest to scout more. The scout is Kazanji. Now by the way, Kazanji are one of the two favorite minor factions for me to assimilate, aside from the Silix and the Ragashi, in case I have access to luxury or strategic resources, of course. Those two are essential, but the two factions I really like as well are Kazanji and Hons. Because not only are they very useful body units, you are lacking a flying unit as the Wild Walkers, and both of these units are very good at what they do, but additionally extra influence and or extra science, both very useful for you, because you're gonna get a lot of influence as a Wild Walkers, trust me, and you are also gonna get a lot of science, especially if you would decide to go for a scientific victory. Alrighty then, so far so actually not bad, because well, this area seems to be pretty poor. I mean, just by looking at it, it looks like you have fairly bad FTSE output in general. I mean, no, for other factors, things about 25, that's not bad, but for us it is. We really need a lot of FTSE. Those two anomalies, they seem tempting, but that's no industry at all. This would get us killed. So I'm leaning towards this area. Let's have a quick look at what it gives us. That's 15 food with happiness, so that's instant growth, that's good. 7 industry without happiness. No, with happiness, what am I talking about? So 7 is not enough, even if I were to work it. But if I were to move to this tile, that's 14 happiness. So I would still grow in one... No, I would not, because settling here would take 1 food production away from me. So that's 1 below the threshold. But it does have 10 industry production. Alright, that's noted. Do I have something that gives me like 15 food, or maybe... Nah, I see, I'm drawing a blank. So I could settle here, but I think this place is the best just because it allows me to grow instantly. Yeah, that's probably what I would go for, but it has a very low amount of industry, so that's also something to keep in mind. So first things first, let's detach the leader and scout around. Maybe we find something even better. Guaran are not exactly something I care about as Wild Walkers. Sure, life on Utanai Walkers is not bad, especially if you like are forced to pair it up with Sisters of Mercy, but yeah, this combo, yeah, actually, just thinking about it makes me, yeah, it's disgusting. It's not a very good combo for Wild Walkers, I don't like it. Anyway, I do think I'll settle over there. Especially since this city has growth potential, it does mean that I'll most likely have to trample over one of the anomalies as the city grows, but it's a decent start. I could also start here, and by starting here, when I grow my city, I will not actually have to trample an anomaly, which means that I'll be able to create an abbey of anomalies, which is nice. And sure, I will not be getting that anomaly, but yeah, I'll not be getting that anomaly, so this is kind of nullifies everything that is said, I think, because abbey of anomalies doubles one anomaly, but I would lose one anomaly, so in the end the net result would be exactly the same. So let's just think about this unbiased and think about it without any bias whatsoever. This area allows me to grow population instantly, it gives me more science and dust. Let's go for that. Let's go for that, I said. And let's settle, and this should be good enough. So as you can see, again, full growth instant. Now as for production, this is a problem for this spot. As you can see, we only have not a lot of it, that's the case. And even adding a hero to that mix would still not actually allow us to grow, to get founders more in just 2 turns. Happy does help, I admit, but we're just barely short of this, because my hero only gives us that's 1.7 from Happy, so my hero would give us imaginary 2 points. 1 point from extra population working and another point from increasing happy to +2 bonus. And that would accumulate into a total of 4 points over 2 turns. That still wouldn't be enough to push us over the threshold of making Father's Memorial. So we'll just make it in 3 turns. But in this situation, more so than in other situations, you do want to go for Mill Foundry ASAP. I imagine, because you need to make up for the little industry that you're making. So there we go, there is that. And anything else I can do? No, there isn't. So let's finish that up. And get the quest for exploring the ruins. As usual, nothing surprising, nothing new there. I forgot to move my hero to where an army is, so that's a bit of an embarrassment, I suppose. I could, however, do something like this. Move the hero over here, have him explore those ruins. Ba-bam, nothing happened. And then let's have those guys enter this tower. Let's assign that hero to there and have the hero explore those ruins as well for extra experience on the hero. And look at that, round 2 and my hero already has an extra experience point. Now I don't know, has extra movement, so I can move even further. Bam! Yeah, that's really efficient right there, if I may say so myself. I also need to merge those 2 armies together, which I can ignore, but I am getting a decent amount of industry, I mean dust actually, so I can continue scaling with those 2 guys separated. It does mean that my hero is actually very vulnerable though, so I'm not very keen on that. I could, however, buy out the Founder's Memorial, which is actually fairly important. Now as for the settler, let's put that in, thank you very much. Start a settler. Now settler will be ready in 6 turns. Now let us assume I cannot afford the Founder's Memorial, because I'm pretty sure I got some dust from some ruins or something. Or let's assume that I just do usual Wild Walkers. Usually Wild Walkers don't have a lot of dust. Because of the forests that usually don't give you any dust whatsoever. So let's assume I cannot buy this out. Let's continue playing this normally instead. And continue like this, because I want to showcase you something else. Another situation that is unlikely to happen, but can happen, as you have seen. Now this select is going to take us 5 turns. Hold on, only 5 turns? Never mind, in this case, I was going to say that in some instances it's a good idea to actually have your Mill Foundry help you work on a settler, but in this case he will be ready in 5 turns, that's probably 4 turns. Let's wait for another turn. I don't care about those units anymore. You know, I'll do something with them, or whatever. Alright, settler ready in 4 turns. Or alternatively settler ready in... I'm pretty sure this would be 5 turns in this situation. Alright, so now... This would actually delay my settler production. But you can go for Mill Foundry when you have very little industry output, because sometimes you'll be in a situation when settler is ready in, let's say, hold on a second. Yeah, sometimes you have a situation, is that it actually? Alright, in this case, settler can be ready in 4 turns, or I can go for Mill Foundry in 2 turns. Hold on a second, I'm trying to do the math. Actually, no, because I'll grow population. Yeah, that's right. Bam! I grow my population, get that into this production, then get a Mill Foundry in 2 turns. I'm pretty sure the settler will be done in 4 turns. Let's just wait to see if I'm right. Settler now already done in just 4 turns. So if this goes back to... Hold on a second. This was supposed to be 4 turns on turn 4, so on turn 8 I should be getting a settler if I was right with my code to make Mill Foundry first. Alright, whatever. So let's see, and bam, goes down to 2, meaning I get my settler on turn 8. Bam! Alright, this was the right example, what I wanted to show you. Good. Sorry, the math confused me for a second. So, as you can see, sometimes it is a good idea to go for Mill Foundry before the settler, because the end result is that you get settler at the same turn anyway, but I got myself a new population growth and also Mill Foundry in the city already. You can do that sometimes when you have enough food production, as I did right here. And I have just enough industry, and the science was just on point as well. I'd like to point out it was above the minimum 6 science per turn threshold. I mean 6 science from city towns threshold, so that's how I was able to do what I just did. Settler on turn 8 is not as decent as settler on turn 6, true, but it's still good enough in my book. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I'll do the closing. Thank you very much for watching this first turns guide. If you have any comments or suggestions, please leave them below. If you have the next faction you want me to cover, please let me know what this faction is as well. It will not be the Ally or Alia or whatever they're supposed to be pronounced. It will not be those guys. I'll not cover them just yet, not until this DLC is released. And when it is released, I will cover them as well as make full-fledged guide about them. Yes, but aside from them, who else do you want me to cover? We are left with, let's have a quick, well actually not left with a lot. We have the Necros, we have the other mages, the Roving Class, the Draken, and the Cultists. And the Forgotten as well, actually, so we still have a lot. The Cultists I will not cover, because the way you settle with them, because of the shifters, has actually changed quite considerably. So, with them, again, I'm waiting for this DLC to be officially out. I was talking about the Draken, because the Draken are very, very, very beginner friendly. So I assume a guide for them, for their early game, it would be something that's not a bad idea. But if you would rather see, I don't know, Roving Class or something else, then go ahead and tell me. And I'll listen to you. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you online!